Hi there, beautiful educator, beautiful human being, beautiful you. Welcome to the Embodied Educator podcast. And today's episode is a special addition, an add-on to the conversation I had with the beautiful Kaki Meller. And in our conversation, we got to explore the power of names and honoring our students' name, whether it's given or chosen, and to create space to discover the meaning of their names. It's such an act of love and such an act of seeing the full person for who they are and who they are becoming as they're coming into being in our classrooms. So for the ones who know me through my Embodied Educator Summit series, I've been referencing this book before, and I'll show it with you because I want to share a practice from this book, which is from Mary Keator and Vajra Watson, two beautiful embodied educators who talk about rituals of awakening, magnetic pedagogy, and living justice. So it's also in that area where I feel like it's an element of really cutting through, looking at our students as numbers, looking at our students as just, as things in the learning system. No, in our classrooms, I think it's about honoring each and every one, each individual for who they are and who they are becoming. And one of the important parts in this ritual of welcoming them, which is so important, and we often forget, honoring them into the learning space and collectively honoring and welcoming each and every one, is through naming and through the names. How often do I hear colleagues, and sometimes me included, but through the ritual, you can learn how to pronounce your students' names and which pronouns they prefer to use or to be addressed by. Yeah, this naming, active naming and honoring is something that we can practice and that we can learn. And I'm just literally going to read a little bit of the part which is about the sovereign teacher that can support the sovereignty of each student. Sorry, that's my Dutch getting mixed up with the English language. So what I'm about to do, I'll read you a bit as an introduction. Then there's some reflective questions. And then there's a poem as an example of what can become of this practice, what you can do. And then there's a little more reflective questions. So I invite you to take a pen and paper or anything to write with, whatever floats your boat, and some paper, or if you want to do it digital. I think it's always nice to write by hand, especially when it comes to these somatic layers of information you're working with, because it connects you to different parts of your body and different parts of your brain that are involved. So there is a different processing going on when doing it by handwriting. But by all means, if that's not available for you, any way that works for you is fine. Okay, so I'm going to read a little bit as an introduction on names, and then, because it's just beautifully written, so I rather totally honor Mary Keator and Vajra Watson and read it to you out loud. The sovereign teacher can support the sovereignty of each student. Imagine a candle lighting another candle. Did the original candle lose its flame? No. Light expands light. Light magnifies with other lights. Let's get brighter in our beauty and brilliance. A magnetic pedagogy that supports and uplifts the sovereignty of the soul is glorious and contagious. So, what lessons take this theory and move it into practice? How do we ritualize self-discovery as a route toward sovereignty? We know that who we are is central to our teaching. And we know that who our students are is essential to learning. Do we know our students' names? It is a simple question, with serious ramifications. Names help identify us amid and among our cultures, ancestors, place, and land. Naming is a process of locating us in space and time. Similar to sacred teachings that refine our internal compass, names also play this essential function. Names help us point to ourselves. This is why the famous rapper Kendrick Lamar explains, if I'm going to tell a real story, I'm going to start with my name. If I'm going to tell a real story, I'm going to start with my name. Wow. And there's fireworks on the back. I don't know if you can hear it, but it's a good moment. Let's be real with one another. Let's pronounce our names correctly. In many places throughout the world, naming is not neutral. It is ceremonial. Names can serve as a compass of connection and self-determination. Sometimes people even feel the need to change or gather a new name to reflect a deeper truth of who they are and hope to become. This is because names have power, a conduit to our past and a path to our future, directly influencing our direction and are pulling towards some people and away from others. I experienced the Dharma as ancestral, explains Devin Barry. It's all my ancestors sitting here, what they went through, what they survived, so that I could thrive. And that just gives me something in my throat when I read that quote from Devin Barry. Building on this idea, we can only be sovereign if we are first grounded and centered in the self as educators, right? So here are the 3 following questions Mary and Vajra ask you, and I will read them out loud for you. I will ask the question, give you a moment to pause, to write, and then I'll pose the next question. What is your name? The first question. What is your name? Second question. What does your name mean? I'll repeat. What does your name mean? The third question, which I totally love because embodiment for me is about homecoming to myself in my body, but in emotional body, spiritual body, mental body, physical body, historical body, and mystical body as well, the future. So the third question is, what names sound like home for you? More firework. What names sound like home for you? And maybe while you write, I'll read this, and I'll read a poem to lead you into the next questions they have for us. To root us to reality, let's step towards our names. Here's an example from Linda Christensen from 2015. And it comes from her book Rythm Resistance, Teaching Poetry for Social Justice. And I'll read her poem out loud. Linda May. My name sounds like a country western singer, wrangling cows and cowboy hearts out on the range. Linda May is my intimate name, the name my family calls me when we're laughing, when there's blackberry pie on the table and we spent the day swimming at Grizzly Creek on Swimmer's Delight. My name is full of pinnacle on summer nights, lit by stars and firelight. My name sounds like the jukebox at the Vista Del Mar, where Dad poured Jack Daniels for fishermen while Mom served clam burgers and chicken fried steak. Linda May is the lonely child I became when my father died, the Linda who crawled beneath the overturned skiff in the backyard and lit candles in the dark curve of death. Linda May is the name Bill calls me when we're happy, when we hike Tamanawas Falls or watch salmon leap, silver acrobats climbing the white water of the narrow Klickitat canyons. Linda May sounds like home. So, inspired by Linda's poem, write down 3 questions in which your full name is the answer to each question. Write down 3 questions in which your full name is the answer to each question. So, Vajra wrote an example here, and I'll also give you one of mine. Example question. Whose mum would sing angels into the room when she was 2 years old? Vajra Watson. Who was each lunchtime standing in front of the door, watching for friends or people to come by and invite them in for lunch? Louisa Elizabeth Wintjes. So I invite you to write down 3 of those questions that bring you home to the sound of your name. Write down those 3 questions. And to close off, you can hit the pause button to write down your questions, or maybe listen to this last tiny paragraph and then close off for yourself. Poetry is the language of the soul. It can help students untie their tongues and traverse their feelings and ideas with meaning making. Simple prompts like, "What's your name?" or "Where I'm from?" can open up the classroom space in profound ways. As each student gains sovereignty, there is personal and collective authenticity. People are the authors of their own lives. Let their expertise shine. Thank you, Vajra. Thank you, Mary, for creating this beautiful body of work to help us connect to our sovereign teacher and students. And I really, really am curious how this lands for you. And next time you're doing your round of names with your students in class, how this would land and help you connect what changes in the space, what changes in the faces of your students, what changes inside of you when you call out their names or when you explore their names. I really hope you are sharing that with us, with me, with Kaki, with Vajra, with Mary, who wrote the book and did all the work that I just read out loud, basically. But it's such an embodied activism that you can start with honoring your student's name. I wish you all the best. Mwah.